Tate, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a real honor to have you on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, friend. Thank you for having me.
So for the audience out there who maybe is not familiar with your work just yet, would you mind telling them a little bit about yourself and how you got to this place?
Well, I've had a long and varied life, my friend. I can give you a very long answer. I am the son of a chess grandmaster who originally was a chess player professionally, and then I stopped playing chess when I left America and moved to England and changed to kickboxing, became a 4-time kickboxing world champion. I retired from that and ran a webcam studio, so I had 75 girls working for me and paying me money online. Became a multimillionaire, and now I have private networks and casinos and a few other things paying me money. So a bit of a varied process and a varied path. I've done a little bit of everything, but I've done okay.
I mean, explain that to me. How do you go from interest in chess to kickboxing to, webcam studio? Where's the common thread throughout that stuff? What's sort of been that thread for you?
Yeah, I think that there's a common thread there, and there's a common thread, which is if you're disciplined and you have willpower, that can be applied to absolutely anything, right? If you have unlimited willpower and you can always open up a can and smear it on to whatever you're doing, you're going to do well. So I had willpower when I was playing chess. I had willpower when I was kickboxing to make sure I trained as hard as humanly possible to become a 4-time world champion. I had willpower when I had a house full of 75 women, when I refused to sleep with them and kept my mind focused on the money. So it's all about that, it's all about self-control and self-discipline and making sure that you are the center of your own universe. And a lot of people agree with this, and a lot of people say this and they go, yeah. But it's very rare to meet someone who's serious about it, in my experience. If you're truly serious about brute willpower, you could achieve anything. Like, you could do absolutely anything. That's what it's all about. So I've just had the same universal stubbornness and refusal to fail. And anything I've ever applied it at, I've done very well with for that reason.
I mean, I love that message. I mean, discipline, reigns king above all. And, I got Elon back here in the background because I feel like he's one of those examples of people that, really just push it to the limits of, what are we capable of and what can you do with your life? And
if you don't, yeah, you're right. And if you don't have discipline, you don't have anything, right? People often say to me, oh, but Tate, you're lucky. You're a kickboxer and you were talented. Yeah, I was talented, but I didn't find out I was talented until I was disciplined. If I wasn't disciplined enough to train, I would have never seen my talent, because the guy with less talent than me, who trained harder than me, would have been kicking my ass. So you don't get to discover anything about yourself. You don't get to discover any of your genetic advantages, any of your talents. You don't get to discover anything about who you are as an individual, your spirit, your soul, what you're made of. Without discipline, you can't even discover anything. So discipline is a key to discovery. Discipline teaches you all about yourself. It teaches you what you really have. There's a whole bunch of people out there that might be the best pianist in the world, but they've never had the discipline to learn piano. So nobody knows. And that's how life works. So discipline is extremely important if you ever want to become anybody or be anything. And everybody knows this, and it's a bit cliche to say, right? But I think that is the common theme. I was extremely disciplined as a child. I had a very disciplined upbringing playing chess, and I could take that upbringing and self-discipline and apply it to myself with everything else I've done, fighting and webcam studios, and now I own casinos and mentorships, et cetera, et cetera. And I make millions and millions of dollars, and people look at me and go, oh, but how? And I'm like, what do you mean how? It's do the right things every day like you're supposed to, on time, every day, and life usually comes together. I really believe that.
I mean, when I look around and I see people in the modern world today, it seems like discipline is it's lacking everywhere you look. And, I noticed that there's groups and there's people like yourself that are, promoting this idea in this way of life. What do you notice for people that come to you who are lacking that and are looking for a change? What is it that is, what's a trigger for them? What's something that actually incites that change?
Well, that's a good point. And the reason nobody has discipline anymore is because it's not taught. Discipline isn't taught. And the idea of being disciplined is seen as negative. And we also live in a world where everything and everybody is vying for our attention. Everything. There's ads everywhere. YouTube happens quickly. Kids are being raised with iPads. Like when I was a kid or you were a kid, we had a coloring book. Now they got flashing lights and little video games. Like how do you think you're going to keep his attention as he grows old? He's been entertained by some of the best software developers in the world permanently for since the second he could pick up an iPad. So your attention is very, very difficult. And that's what discipline is, really. It's the ability to stay focused on one thing for a long period of time. And I think most people don't realize how bad their attention span is, or how much discipline they lack until they really start to suffer from it. And that's what will happen, especially as a man. I can't say as a woman because I'm not a woman, but as a man, if you don't have the ability to knuckle down and focus on something for a long time, life's going to punish you. Sooner or later, life's going to wake you up, you know? And the reality of mastery and the reality of success is that it's not really a glamorous story. Like, how do you become the best boxer in the world? You do the same thing over and over for 15 years, jab, cross, hook. Like it's boring, you know,
Yeah.
but that's what discipline is. So the idea that a lot of people want to be constantly entertained, I want to be entertained, that's boring. Well, that's why you need discipline. People want to be constantly motivated. Oh, I don't feel motivated. Listen, if you're not motivated to go to the gym and that has resulted in you being obese, suffering health adversity, so you've now damaged your health. On top of that, you're less attractive to females. On top of that, your energy levels are lower. If you really need motivation to just lose weight and live a life worth living, then there's something wrong with you. I train every single day and I'm never motivated, but I'm disciplined. I never wake up and think, yeah, I want to train. I've been training my whole life. I'm bored of it, but it's something that has to be done, right? So the idea of entertainment, the idea of motivation, these things are completely detrimental to discipline. People come to me all the time and say, how do I get motivated? I say, you don't, you get disciplined. I don't care if you feel like doing X. You must do X or you will stay a loser. So do you want to be a loser or do you want to do X? It has nothing to do with motivation. So a lot of these things, people are constantly distracted. And I think a lot of the things that are taught and told about discipline are actually detrimental to a disciplined mindset as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that it's, discipline is perceived in a way today where it's aggressive, it's abrasive if you even promote that way of living, compared to just being sort of flushed away with the endless stream of entertainment, advertisements, and materialism that drags people along today. I mean, in focus being sort of the core theme of that, being able to focus your energy and attention away from what we're being bombarded with every single day is, I think for some extremely challenging, especially you mentioned the earlier generation that's, sort of being raised with an iPad in their hand. How will they rise above that? How will they learn focus if it's not being taught to them? And, where does that, it's like, how do you even introduce that to someone's life in the condition that we're in today?
Absolutely. I completely agree. And the reason this is all done very purposefully, right? Because they want the average person to be a worker slave. They want the average person to be a slave. Anyone who's listening to this, I say this to people all the time, slavery hasn't gone anywhere. The idea of slavery is that you work for free. Oh, you work for free and you get a house and some food. Well, let me tell you something. Most of you out there are working a job and you can afford a house and some food, and that's about it. Slavery's gone nowhere. Slavery is still here. So how do you keep people slaves? Well, you keep them distracted. You keep them distracted from themselves and how they feel and the reality of life long enough so that they just continue to work until they die. That's what all of this mainstream mindset is. That's what it all is. And they constantly will do anything it takes to stop you from waking up and focusing on yourself. They'll talk about race. They'll talk about politics. They'll talk about anything it is to distract you. They'll put Rihanna on the TV and she'll start singing and they'll say, go to this concert. And then if you feel depressed with your slave life, instead of telling you to change it, they'll say, no, that's fine. Come take these depression pills, continue to be a slave. It's just a slave mindset. So there's certain people out there, everyone's seen The Matrix, right? If you're one of them people who's trying to wake up and there's something itching in your brain and you just don't understand what's wrong and you're just don't feel quite right in life, it's because you're a slave inside of the slavery. You're a bee in the beehive and you're trying to escape it. And the only way out is going to be through disciplined actions one way or another. They do this with mainstream culture on purpose. They make absolute morons famous. They make morons famous, and they do it. They do it so that smart people like you and I and everyone listening to this thinks, well, if that moron got a big break, my big break will happen one day. And you just keep working, keep going to work, waiting for your big break. It doesn't come. The only way to get out is through disciplined action. So you need to become extremely disciplined with yourself as an individual if you care about escaping the beehive. If you don't care about escaping, then stay a slave. That's completely up to you. But discipline's a key component. There's no other way out. There is no other way out. That is it. It's something you have to do, and you're going to have to do things you don't want to do on time every single day, or you're going to suffer the consequence. And that's how life works.
For sure. I mean, I always say like the only way out is through. And I'm curious, with your own perspective, you mentioned that you've cultivated discipline in your lifestyle from an early age with chess. But was there a point where you realized that where, sort of the only way out of the beehive, as you say, is, uh, to continue to push that sort of mindset? Because you notice a lot of young people are able to cultivate discipline in early life with athletic sports and things like that, but somewhere around that college age, it might drop off and they get sort of sucked into the mainstream.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things is that it's a lot of people don't see success or they don't measure their own success, right? So there's a saying in fighting, and it says you're never tired when you're winning. And the point is, when you're getting your ass kicked, you're out of breath. But if you're kicking someone's ass, you don't get out of breath. It's weird how that works. But life's the same, right? So if you give anybody a business idea and they start to make money, and they're making money, now they're making more money, now they're making more money, most people will have all the motivation and discipline they need to continue doing X idea and become very, very rich. The problem is people try things, they don't work. They try something, no money's coming in. They've tried something else, it's been a year, they don't see the results. And that's the hard part. That's where the discipline's really, really important, because you're never tired when you're winning, right? So one of the things you can do is you got to find ways and metrics to measure success. Maybe your goal is to get rich, but you're building a website and it's your goal to get rich. You're not making any money yet, but visitors are going up, right? So at least you have some kind of metric. You need to pay attention to your successes. You need to pay attention to them, because that's going to give you all the energy and motivation, the word I don't like to use, the discipline that you need to keep going, and as a completely adverse point, because I like to, keep everyone confused. You also have to understand that not everything's going to work all the time. You have to be prepared to throw things away. So you've kind of got to be an adaptable individual, but you have to look for the positive in the universe. And I really mean that. Like, I'm definitely not one of them airy fairy hippie, believe in the secret kind of people. But I do know that if you wake up every day and look for the positives in the universe, you usually end up, feeling more positive and doing more positive things than waking up and looking for the negative. And everything we said about mainstream media, they're only trying to show you the negative. They're only trying to piss you off. They're only trying to drag you down. They're not trying to say anything that makes you happy. So if you're going to listen to that crap, at least be immune to most of it, and you have to have your own internal clock, your own internal systems to make sure you stay on track.
So you mentioned there for a moment, acknowledging, your wins, acknowledging some of the metrics that you're tracking. I've always found it challenging to celebrate those wins, when along the way, if you haven't reached that goal yet, out of fear of complacency or, sort of feeling like enough is enough. For you, where's that line? How do you balance that?
Absolutely. And that's a good point. And when you say celebrate, so a lot of people can fall off when they celebrate, right? I did this, blah, blah, and they fall off, right?
Yep.
So I don't fall off, because what I do, and this is what really upsets everybody, but it's been an absolute key to my success. So I refuse to apologize. What I love to do is I love to fucking talk about it. Because if I talk about my success, it doesn't take much of my time. I can't really fall off. It's not like I've run around on a vodka binge, trying to celebrate. I just love to talk about it. I love to tell people, hey, guess what? This happened, this happened, this happened. I think I might be able to do this, this, and this next. And if you're surrounded by the right kind of people, they want to listen. If the people around you go, I don't care, then you shouldn't be talking to them anyway. Like me and all my friends, I say this all the time, me and all my friends, all we talk about is money. If you're in a room let me ask you, if you walk into a room and there's 5 men in there, and those 5 men are the best ice cream makers in the world, and you talk to them every single day, within a few months, you're going to know how to make ice cream. By hook or by crook, right? You're going to learn about ice cream, how to store it, how to make it, how to make the colors, how to make the flavors, because all they talk about is ice cream. If the people you meet and talk to only talk about money, guess what? You're going to learn how to make money. So I love to talk about my successes, and I love to talk to other people who like to listen and talk about their successes. And then you get a spiral, because everyone understands that a downward spiral is real. Everyone's discussed and understood a downward spiral. People don't understand an upward spiral. An upward spiral is just as real as a downward spiral. My entire life was an upward spiral. I became kickboxing world champion. It made me a little bit of money, but not that much money. I had a whole bunch of girls who adored me because I'm a kickboxer. They're from all around the world. I moved them all to London. I had a big apartment. They started webcamming. I made millions of dollars. Then I bought a casino. It's all just an upward spiral for me. And that's just, the energy in a positive direction all the time. And if I ever sat there and tried to talk to somebody about money or business ideas or whatever, and they were uninterested, then I was uninterested in talking to them, because that's all I have ever cared about. What else is there to talk about? Like, genuinely, what, movies, sports? Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares?
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Yeah, don't get me started, bro.
Yeah.
But this is the point, right? So you should talk about your successes all the time, and you should only be surrounded by people who want to listen, you know, and listen to their feedback. Maybe they've got some advice, whatever, and listen to their successes too, and create a positive environment for yourself. And if you do that, they're going to do well. Inside of my private mentorship, I have a private mentorship called the War Room, where I teach people how to live the best life a man can live on planet Earth. And it's based around, one, making money independent of geography. So we make money online. Every single member is taught how to make money online in a variety of ways so that you're not stuck in one location. And two, we work on things like getting people extra passports, getting people residencies, multiple driver's licenses, et cetera. And the idea is that every single person in the War Room at any time can be anywhere in the world and making money. So if you're unhappy with the election and what's just gone down in America, it's no problem. You turn up to Tokyo, you get a penthouse, bang, you've already got another passport. You know what I mean? So that's the whole goal, is like global domination. That's what I'm teaching. And inside of that network, every single Sunday, all of us talk about everything we've achieved that week. That's all we do. I did this, I did this, I did this, you did this, you did this. And a bunch of ideas, a bunch of business ideas, loads stems from that. So a lot of people don't even have a place they can positively talk about something great they've done, because then they're seen as arrogant, right? Oh, he's bragging, he's boring. Why doesn't he just want to watch Netflix with the rest of us? Man. And that's the price you're going to pay if you're an exceptional individual, right? And mediocre people are going to get upset with you. Well, you know, a whole bunch of people hate me, my friend, but I'm driving my Ferrari on my way to pick up my Bugatti, and I don't care. So that's how the world works.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the War Room, because it's something that I think, you know, now, and especially in the past few weeks with all that's happening on the internet, it's been really interesting to see a variety of groups sort of emerge to basically pull together online networks into real life or more, you know, privatized networks. And I've tracked sort of your progress of the War Room over the time. And, you know, it seems like you've definitely seen this curve coming. You know, what do you make of sort of the situation today in the United States with censorship and sort of the political disintegration of, you know, free speech and what's happening with these private networks?
Yeah, absolutely. Private networks are the future of the world. There's no doubt about it, because public discourse has been completely neutered. And there's a lot of people who are afraid to say what they really think because of the consequences of what's happening out in the open. So private networks are absolutely what's the future, I believe. And on top of that, a private network is always more personal, right? And if you want genuine results from something, you need a personal interaction. So when I was just talking about on Sunday, we all talk about our achievements. We all know each other. So it matters. If you put your achievements on Twitter and you get a like from some account with 3 followers and a cat picture, like, that doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
So you got to know people. That's the first thing about it. But second thing, there are a lot of networks popping up, but I am very, very serious about this. And of course I would say this because I started the War Room, but the War Room is completely unique to any other network, because the War Room is based on results. Problem is, with a lot of networks that are popping up now, you can pay and you can join, and that's it. Whereas the War Room, you need to pay, join, fulfill certain tasks, do certain things, and achieve, or you lose your membership. So there's no such thing as a War Room member who isn't living a fantastic life, because he got kicked out a long time ago. So we are very, very results based. And that's basically just my mindset in general. I think I got that from chess. I got that from fighting. It's a results based world, right? You either show up and turn up and do what you're supposed to do, and you reap the benefits of that, or you fail. But certainly the way the world's going, especially if you're a man, and especially in the Western world, you need to find a tribe of people you can trust and people you interact with, and you need to take a hard think before you put anything out in public. I'm lucky because I don't want to swear, but I have FU money, right? So I can say all the crazy stuff I say. You can't cancel me and you can't fire me because I'm rich and I live in Romania. I'm far away. Like, you can't do much to me. You can't dox me. You know how many people have tried to dox me? I just copy and paste. I copy and paste my own address with my assault rifle and say, come get it. Like, I'm far away in a big gated compound in the middle of a mafia-controlled country, which are all my friends. No one's coming here to me. But if you're living in America, you got to be a lot more careful. Like, you can say something which is innocent or your point of view, And you can upset somebody, they can dox you, you can lose your job, you can become unemployable. All these crazy things can happen now. So especially if you're a Western male, you need to be looking for networks where you are safe to speak and safe to be your true self. Because that's what happened when they began this speech banning. All this banning of hate speech, banning of this, banning of that. When you change the way a man talks, if you stop him from saying what he wants to say, eventually you're going to start changing the way a man thinks. And then you're going to change the way a man acts. You know, that's what happens. And that's what's happened now. And men are afraid to even be masculine, online or offline.
Absolutely.
They're afraid. And because they know there's serious repercussion. And that's a terrible thing. And in the war room, we absolutely welcome masculine activity and a masculine intercourse. If someone upsets you, tell them, you know, I don't like you. Like that's how men work. It's how we're supposed to. But yeah, you know, the world's changed, so it's getting dangerous out there. But absolutely, the future of networking, especially for Western males, has got to be privatized. It has to be.
I mean, tell me more about the breaking away from, you know, location specific living, you know, as far as, you know, I think it's interesting to see, you know, the lifestyle in Romania and this encouraging of people to become more location independent. Where did that start for you? I think for many people, just the idea of leaving the United States and going anywhere else is sort of wild or insane, or they couldn't imagine themselves doing it. How did that start?
Yeah, so it started for a variety of reasons. So the first thing I will say is I am American. I'm American. I'm half American, half English. My mother was English. My dad was American. I lived in America till I was 15, and then we moved to England. America does an amazing job, and it truly is amazing, with their propaganda machine. America's the best country in the world. America, freedom, 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 blah, blah. America is not free. America is not the best country in the world. It's only my opinion. Don't get upset. But there's nothing you can do in America you can't do in Barcelona or Paris or name any, Tokyo, Singapore, Melbourne, Australia. Like, there's nothing in America. The only thing you do have, I guess, that some countries don't have is in certain places you can get a bunch of big guns. Well, yeah. Congratulations. Besides that, that's the only thing you've got. And what's happened recently, I don't want to get too political, but recently I've seen a whole bunch of right-wing conservative guys who just had their vote stolen from them in broad daylight, still tweeting out America's the best country in the world. And to me, that looks like Stockholm syndrome. They just stole the election. They just stole the election from you, and they're prepared to ban you on social media and fire you from your job for your opinion. And you're still going to pretend that's a good place for you as an individual to live. It's simply not true. There's other places you can go. There's other places I live in Romania, a right-wing country. Every single thing that's considered right-wing and crazy in the West is completely normal here. Like, there is no gender fluid, none of that. None of it. When I try and even explain it to people, they think I've made it up. They don't believe it. They're like, that's not real. So there are normal places in the world. So that's the first thing. I kind of always, from when I moved from America to England and then I was traveling, fighting, I kind of always realized that the American dream and the Western propagation that they're the only countries in the world that are safe and free is a lie. Two, what made humans, why are humans the most successful species on the planet? We can't run the fastest. We can't fight the best. We need clothes or we freeze outside. It's because of one thing. It's because of adaptability. We can adapt. That's what we have. So if you tie yourself to one location, you are seriously damaging your ability to adapt. Things happen. And look at Corona. You could have been stuck in California where you want to be in Florida, where it's open. You need adaptability. So for the same reason I say to people, look, don't buy a house, rent a house. Oh, but renting is wasting money. No, what wasting money is paying a whole bunch of interest on a mortgage for a house that when you finally need to sell it, it takes 3 years to sell. Time is money. You're wasting it. Just rent a house, find a way to make some money, and if you get annoyed in X location, you can move. Buy. So adaptability is extremely important as well. And you can do adaptability within America, or you can go global like I have. I love Romania right now. Will I love Romania in 10 years? Don't know. Where will I want to live then? Okinawa? Cool. I've got money in the bank. Let's go. So adaptability is another big part of it. And three, the reason I kind of got this mindset is for a while, I really wanted to live off grid. I wanted to just be left alone. And I realized that in the modern world, that's absolutely impossible. You can't be off grid if you want to live any kind of life worth living. So then I came up with the idea of, why don't I put myself on as many grids as possible? And the goal behind that is that no one grid controls me. So for example, I have 7 passports. I have 15 driver's licenses. So let's say I'm driving my car and the police stop me. I'll just pull out a license from some random country. I'm in Romania. I'm driving a Slovakian plated car. I've got an American driver's license. I've got an Estonian passport, and I'm speaking English. Like, you think they're going to take my license, or they're just going to look at me and go, just slow down, bro, bye. If the paperwork's not worth it for them. If you ban my passport, you can ban my passport right now. I guarantee I got another one that'll work. I'm that guy, right? So I like the idea of freedom, and freedom is basically achieved by having enough documents so that no one country can stop you from moving. Unless you're like Edward Snowden or something and you're really on the Interpol list. But for minor stuff, make sure you always have driver's licenses so no one can stop you driving. And make sure you have money coming in from the sky so you can rock up anywhere and live for as long as you need to live. If you do that, you're pretty free. And that's what we teach inside the war room, because I think that's the end goal is freedom. And if you have all those things and still want to live in America, good luck to you. Fine, no problem. But wouldn't it be nice to be able to say, you know what, tomorrow, first class ticket, 9 a.m., I'm on my way to Shanghai, and I'm going to rent myself a big penthouse. I'm going to hit the club, get some champagne, get myself 3 Chinese girlfriends. I'm going to stay there. It's free. It's an ability. It's the ability to do it. That's what we try and teach.
I mean, it's a beautiful lifestyle to describe as far as, creating a system to rise above the systems so that you're basically impenetrable there. Where did that, where does the vision for that come from? I think for average American, they're seeing, they're thinking of Jason Bourne or James Bond or something like that. For you, where did the vision for that lifestyle begin?
Yeah, that was certainly part of it. But I think fighting taught me a lot, right? Because when I was fighting, kickboxing is not boxing. I didn't make millions of dollars. I was a 4-time world champion, but the most I ever made in 1 year was like 400 grand, which sounds like a lot of money, but I was living in London. My apartment was very expensive. I had a car, blah, blah, blah. So I had no money, right, from fighting. But what fighting did do is I went all around the world and I met very interesting characters. And kickboxing is not licensed properly like boxing. So kickboxing is a huge, big money launder. All the shows, it's all money laundering. It's all a bunch of drug dealers. You're in Albania with a bunch of drug dealers. You're in Chechnya with a bunch of drug dealers. You're doing all this stuff, right? So, and after I won fights, I'd have lots of interesting conversations with these people. Most fighters are stupid. I'm quite unique, whereas the fact I'm a fighter, but I'm not an idiot. So I could sit and talk to the money men. After I won my fight, all I wanted to do was be rich. I wanted to talk to the money men, right? Just like I said to you earlier, all I want to talk about is money. So I'd talk to them, and I'd talk to like Albanians or Chechens, and these guys would be on the most wanted list. And then they'd show me a picture of them in Dubai, picture of them in London, shopping, Sloane Street. I was like, how you do that? Oh, I got this passport from here, got that passport from here. I got a passport in another country and then changed my name in that country. So I have a perfectly legal passport with my face with a completely different name. Like, they were just doing all this stuff, and I was sitting there going, why don't I do that? I don't need it, but why not? I'll give you an example. So I'm coming to America, right? I'm coming to America next week to Nevada. We've got a war room summit. We're 25 guys inside the war room. We're going to be meeting in the desert in Nevada. We'll be doing physical training, and we'll be talking about how to make money. It's a 3-day summit for war room members only. And I'm flying from Romania. Now, currently, travel from the EU to America is banned, and vice versa. But I'm going to fly to America with my American passport, and I'm going to fly back to Europe with my European passport. You can't stop me. Everyone else is sitting there going, oh, I can't travel, blah, blah. I can do whatever I want. I can go China today. I can go Japan today. I can go Thailand today. During this entire Corona lockdown, I've been to 13 countries. There's always some passport that works if you do a bit of Googling, and you'll get in. So I've kind of seen, it's weird how Corona's proved me absolutely correct, but I kind of saw this coming. I kind of saw the clamp down coming, the clamp down on speech, the clamp down on movement, the clamp down on finances. I kind of saw it coming. And that's when I thought, I want to live off grid. And once I realized I couldn't live off grid, I was like, okay, well, how do I get myself as much freedom as possible? And the idea is to have a whole bunch of governments who say, yeah, this guy can fly as this guy. If I'm Maltese today, let me in to Malta. I want to party. And that's just kind of where it came from.
I mean, it's diversifying your risk, right?
There you go. You nailed it. I ramble on for too long, and you nail it in a sentence. Sorry, you nailed it in a sentence. You're diversifying your risk. That's all it is. You're diversifying your risk. And I think any intelligent adult, especially a man, should be looking to do exactly that. Diversify your risk. Why not?
Certainly.
Why not?
And I mean, you mentioned like you're an American. So, I mean, you're maintaining these American ideals of freedom, even though, we've separated from that specific location. And I think more and more into the future, we're going to observe that the location or the geography of where we're living does not necessarily there's no indication of that compared to where your mindset is at, and sort of what your belief system is.
Completely true. And also, I'll tell you something about being American, and this is what most Americans don't realize. The biggest freedom you get as American is being American outside of America. That's what you don't appreciate. If I'm in Moldova and a police stop me and I flash an American passport, they think, there's a big embassy. There's a big embassy here, American. They can kick up trouble if we push him too hard, because it's a powerful passport, right? In America, if you show an American cop your passport, he doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care. But having an American passport outside of America still has some influence. So Americans talk about freedom. I was like, you're more free with your passport somewhere else than you are in America. America's a police state. Have you ever seen the highway? I drive as fast as I want. I break speed limits. I do 200 on a 20 in the country I live in. In America, you go 5 miles per hour over, you're gonna be on the floor with a gun to your head. And people talk about freedom. It's not a free place. It's not a free place because the society is not actually based on freedom. America is a police state. The society is based on fear of the law. They keep everybody scared all the time, and they have to because crime's so high. So all they have to do is just militarize the police and keep everyone scared all the time. And X amount of people die every single year. And I don't see the advantage or the point of living in America whatsoever. If you want a big ranch in Nebraska and loads of guns, yeah, sure, fine. But if you want to live in a city, especially the cities where you're not allowed to own guns, why would you be in an American city as opposed to some other city, which is perfectly safe, 0% chance of any kind of crime, probably cheaper, more beautiful women, and your American passport will get you out of trouble if you're ever drunk and disorderly? Why would you stay there? I just don't think it crosses people's minds. But truly, you should start to think about it. And especially in the upcoming years, what's coming next in regards to clampdowns on men who have any kind of masculine ideals or masculine identity, most people have not fathomed what's coming. And it's going to be extremely upsetting for a lot of men out there. And you have two choices. You either drink the Kool-Aid and agree to the insanity, or you are punished. I'd rather leave. That's what I'd do.
I mean, in that same vein, I'm curious because I know there's a lot of people that would never want to leave. There's people, and I think that whether that's from not ever traveling outside of the United States, not having exposure to what other lifestyles could entail, but I think there's people that will just stay. I mean, what do you say to the resistance to that oncoming assault on masculinity and masculine groups?
Good. I say good, and I say good luck, and I wish you Godspeed. But if you're serious about your resistance, you should at least have a backup plan. Like I said, you should at least take what I'm saying into consideration. You should at least fly to Lithuania, one holiday, start a bank account, put 20 grand in it, start talking about a residency, get it sorted out, and then go back to America and fight the good fight. Fine. But worst case, you land in Lithuania, you can rent an apartment for the next 3 years, you go to the club, you get yourself a hot Lithuanian girlfriend. Boom. Life's fine. That's what I would say. But hey, not everybody thinks like me. I like contingencies. But that's what I teach inside the war room, because also there's some fights you just can't win, and I don't want to be a defeatist because that's not who I am as an individual. But look what happened to Trump. He got betrayed by everybody betrayed Trump, man, because he wasn't corrupt like the rest of them. And Trump finally, the reason he gave up, Trump one day said, you know what, this ain't worth it. And he's going to give you all the patriotic speech, but I guarantee Trump in private is saying America can't be saved and ain't worth saving. That's the way. All these people hated me for trying to do the right thing. Let it go. That's what's happened now. So I don't see how things can get better anytime soon, but that's just my opinion. And hey, I'm not telling everybody they have to leave. I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm just saying I have the capability to go anywhere. And I sleep well at night knowing that. If something happens in Romania, I can go to one of about 23 or 24 countries and live forever. And I like feeling that way. And I think if you don't have that, you should at least look into it. That's what I think.
I mean, one of the things that we've been talking about here is having those private networks, which, in addition to acting as like sort of a social tribe to share your ambitions and, plans for success, is also as an information network. And so what's interesting to me about that is how it conflicts with sort of the mainstream bombardment of narrative and how that can disrupt that narrative. Have you given any consideration to how, a group like the War Room can, with enough disruption to a common narrative, like what that kind of change?
Oh, absolutely. Ben, the War Room is my only source of information. So I'll give you a very quick example. Because mainstream information is it's either a lie or it's very official, right? So I needed to go to Morocco last week. I look up the rules for Morocco, the entry rules, the mask rules, the distancing rules, all these rules about curfews, quarantine, all these rules. I messaged the war room, there's 3 guys in Morocco. I said, what's Morocco like? They said, we don't care, we don't wear masks, and even if you do get 2-week quarantine, just go out anyway, please don't check. Like, you got guys on the ground.
Yes.
So I went to Morocco, I didn't wear a mask, no one asked where I was from, no one quarantined, no one cared. But I wouldn't know that if I didn't have guys on the ground, right? So the mainstream narrative is always basically either a lie or exaggerated anyway. So you always need someone or something on the ground. That's one of the great things about a network like that. They're my only source of information for nearly anything, anything, not just even something like that, anything about cryptocurrencies or starting bank accounts or registering a car in a particular number plate. I have 16 cars. They're all on different number plates in different countries. Why? For the same reason I just told you about my passports. I'm just that guy. I like to be that guy. I don't like them all. I want them all just from all over. Why does he have a Ferrari from Estonia? Why does he have a Latvian McLaren? I'm annoying. I'm hard to pin down. That's just who I am. So who helps me with this stuff? War room guys. We've got guys in every single country almost. So yeah, you absolutely need an information network. But like every information network, you only get what you give. But it's fantastic. We have war room guys. If you're in a war room member, you can fly to one of 80 countries tomorrow and you have a place to sleep. You have someone to pick you up at the airport. That's what power truly is. That's what freedom truly is, right? And that's what it comes down to. But in regards to private networks regarding social versus social media, I use social media to advertise my private network. That's the only reason I'm even on social media anymore, because I don't have any kind of serious conversations or give any kind of serious knowledge away out into the world, because it's just too much repercussion.
Yeah, it's really crazy to see what's been happening over the past few weeks with that. But we went from banning Alex Jones in 2018 to the president not being able to tweet for the last few weeks of his term in office. It's and this momentum's not going anywhere.
Absolutely, because what happens when you give a control freak control? Do they ever have enough? Never. When has a control freak ever said, "Okay, that's enough control. I'm full, thanks"? Never. When has a heroin addict said, "That's enough heroin"? When's a gambling addict said, "Oh, that's enough gambling"? Never. These people are control freaks. They're control freaks, and especially the tech dorks, right? Because the tech dorks have never had any power in their lives because they're nerds. So like, you're a nerd. You've never had power over other men. No man's ever been scared of you. No woman's ever respected you. You've never felt powerful until you invented your little website. Now you feel powerful. They all got God complexes, these people. So they're gonna twist a knife. That's what they're gonna do.
I mean, certainly if you're able to create a private company that all of a sudden has more reach, more power, and more, you can act as the judge, jury, executioner for every single person on your platform, the millions and millions of people. It's, we know this as part of human nature, that it's not something that people turn down, at least turn down often.
Absolutely. And they say absolute power corrupts. Was it power corrupts? Absolute power corrupts absolutely, right?
Yes.
So there you go. There it is. So we knew this was going to happen. So, and I think a lot of these things are just glaringly obvious to people, but I have these conversations with people all day, every day, and they'll agree with everything I say. And I say, okay, so what's your plan? And they'll go, and they'll start umming and ahhing. And I tell people my plan, like we've just discussed with the passports and the multiple bank accounts. I have bank accounts in 30 countries. I have money hidden all over the world. I tell everyone my plans, and they're like, oh yeah, but that's not really for me. I say, it's fine. We're not all the same. But what's your plan? Is your plan to just sit and because that's it, right? You're either a person who tries to carve his own destiny, or you're a victim of circumstance. If your plan is to just sit and wait and see what happens, good. I hope it works out well. I wish every single person on earth well. I'm not a malicious individual.
I mean, that brings it full circle there, where you're talking about, making a plan versus not making a plan and just expecting things to go well. That brings it back to what we started with as far as focus and discipline and carving out that time and that persistence to make the plan, which I think is where a lot of people lack. For you, what Absolutely. Is that? What is that period? Because I mean, I've noticed in my own life, making a plan can take 10 minutes. A plan that you're going to execute over the course of 10 years could take 10 minutes to put together. For you, what does that planning look like? What does that habit look like?
I just like to think that what I do, I don't really have a plan as much as I have a life philosophy. So I try and keep everything I do is aimed towards X goal. So even when I first started my passport journey, instead of just going on holiday, I chose the country I was going to get the passport in. And then my holiday was a working holiday, because my holiday was based around trying to get a passport. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. Anything I do, I try and keep the end goal in mind. So people who know me say, Tate, your whole life is work. I say, yeah, it is. But I live a fun life. and I do what I enjoy, but every single thing I do has some kind of work tinge to it. It's not so much as having a plan, it's just a mindset and an attitude. I'm always constantly striving towards something. The idea of just relaxing completely, I'm quite fortunate because I don't find that appealing. People go, oh, I'd love to just relax on a beach. I can't think of anything worse than sitting on a beach. I'll be bored in 3 minutes. I can't do that as an individual. So maybe that's something I've learned. Maybe it's something I'm born with. But for me, it's always been goal, action, 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 action. So with that in mind and a goal in mind, that's just kind of how I do it. But a lot of people, you're talking about making a plan, a 10-minute plan, but a lot of people don't even have a plan. A lot of the people are just waiting for their ship to come in. One day my ship will come in, and when it does, I'll buy a house and then, I'll go on holiday twice a year. Like that's their entire life goal. That's their life plan. And I'm not hating on those people because I need those people to serve me coffee. So that's fine. But because you do, right? There's no light without dark and there's no rich without poor. But I always had some kind of plan. Even when I was completely broke, I always had a plan. I always understood. I watched a TV show. It's an English TV show you would have never heard of. And it's a guy is stealing a university education. He's going to university without paying for it. And he walks into class and they say, who are you? And he goes, oh, my name's not on the list yet. I've just transferred from another university. And they go, okay, no problem, sit down. And he says to himself, the whole world is just people walking into rooms and saying things. And it's a stupid little saying, but that clicked with me. I was like, he's right. Government, it's just people walking into a room and saying things. Business, it's just people walking into a room and saying things. Everything is just people walking into rooms and saying things. So if I want to have money, I need to find the right room and the right people. That's what I wanted to do. So my life plan was always understanding I need a network. I put the war room together once I was already rich because the war room is what I was looking for when I was poor. When I was poor, I was trying to find a network of motivated individuals, some ultra wealthy, some on their way up, that I could join so I could learn and do what they do or network with them or help some of them and start to get my way up, but I couldn't find it. So I had to do it all the hard way by knocking everybody out and traveling the world and meeting rich people that way. But that's how I did it, fighting. But I've always understood that your net worth is your network, right? It's who you know, who you talk to, what you talk about. That's how the world works. That's how it's always worked. So I always had a plan. My plan was to network with the kind of people who were living the life I wanted to live. But most people don't even have a plan that goes that far. And that's not an easy thing to do, but at least I knew what I was trying to do. Most people don't even know what they're trying to do. They're just living life. When they get depressed, they take a pill or they eat some ice cream, and if they're bored, they put on Netflix or play a video game, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a target or a goal that you're actively working towards.
And when things go, and when bad things happen to them, it's just like, oops, didn't see that coming. It was because you're not looking. That's why.
So I totally agree. Like if you don't have a plan, if you don't have some anchor point that you're working towards, you're much more susceptible to get caught up in the mainstream, get caught up in, the waiting for things to happen to you. What's your anchor point right now? I think a lot of people would look at your lifestyle and say, oh, he must be done. He's got the car, he's got the house, he's got the location and, independence. What's the anchor now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I'm much like the tech geeks we just discussed. There's always a new level of power, right? There's always something new you're trying to achieve. So I've got a few things I'm still working on. There's still a few things I need to put together, but some things never get boring. Making money is one of them. Never gets boring. It never gets boring, right? So and money is numbers, and numbers never run out. So you always need more of that. So there's always more money to make. There's always new connections to have. But in terms of material things, I am kind of done. But I'm looking forward to having a family, and I'm looking forward to having a family as large as I want. I can have 10 or 15 kids. I haven't got any financial obligation that's going to stop me. So I can have unlimited children if I decide. I can also have 15 kids with 10 different chicks if I want to, because I got 25 girlfriends, so I can do whatever I want. So I definitely have a path forward. Family's the next big leap for me. But in general, I just like keeping things ticking over. I'm a disciplined individual. I like being up on time. I like being at my desk. I'm a multimillionaire. People say, what do you do? You're a multimillionaire. And I say, I like to work. Yeah, but you're rich. But I like getting up and on time and having my coffee at my desk and 2 hours of work. Then I train, 2 hours of training, and then I have another massage for 1 hour at my desk. And then maybe in the afternoon, I'll take a car out or something. But I like to be disciplined. I like to have my stuff in order. I like to do things right. I like to keep my eye on everything. And that's why I enjoy. And I think every single man out there, the key to happiness in life as a man is to have some sort of empire you're in charge of. This is biological. Men, conquered Earth. Why did the Romans walk in random directions and kill anyone they found at random? To have an empire. This is built inside of humanity. If you're a man and you have an empire, to some degree, you're happy, right? You need to have a few people who listen to you and a woman who listens to you and some money coming in and some things you're in charge of, and you're going to be a happy person. If you don't have your own empire, or you don't even have to have your own. If you're important, very important in someone else's, you can still be satisfied. But if you're at the very, very bottom of the food chain, there's no happiness there. I had a guy come to me recently and said, I can't get a better job because I'm really depressed. I said, no, you're depressed because you haven't got a better job. It's the other way around. Of course you're depressed. Your life is shit. What do you want me to say to you? Your life is terrible. You have no girlfriend and you're broke. And you're fat. What do you want me to say? Your life is bad. If you have a bad life, you're going to be an unhappy person. I said, if you were me, you'd be happy. So this is what it is. So you need to have your own little empire you're in charge of. And if you can find that, whatever that is, then you're usually going to be happy. I don't buy into this crap that, people who have everything right in their life are still depressed. Well, I can tell you from my personal experience, I'm fine. And the only time I was ever pissed off or sad in my life is when I was broke. And now I'm rich and I'm fine. So don't buy into that lie, because it's a lie. So that's what I think. That's what I think life's about as a man.
I mean, I agree with you. I think there's this sort of innate drive to conquest, to conquer something or other. And I think that's sort of what they're, was actively being rooted out, whether it's, through social media or communication or speech or whatever, is any indication that you still have that drive inside you to conquest something, whether it's just, achieving at your job really well, or, if you're a Roman and you're trying to take over the entire world, it's a whole different situation. But to some scale, to some degree, having that drive within you and being able to harness that is, it's critical to your mental health.
Oh, completely. Like we said, men risked their lives on the battlefield to control patches of land. Why? Because it was an empire. They wanted to be part of it. Now we don't have to do that, right? Now you can build a YouTube channel or build a business. You can do something, but it's the same biological triggers. It's the same evolutionary hardwired motivations. It's the same thing that makes a man want to work and become the CEO of a big company. It's the same thing that made people want to conquer Rome. It's the same thing. But you're right, that's being rooted out of us by the mainstream, and that's being done on purpose because that's how they make you a slave. It's wrong to be like that, Andrew. It's wrong. Why do you have to be like that? Why can't you just be happy with basically nothing and just work a normal job? Why do you feel like you're special and you need X, Y, Z? Why can't you just be like all the other unhappy people? I say this all the time. You should never adopt the thinking of someone who is sad. And most people who are out here giving their life advice, if you sit there and go, are you happy? Well, yeah, I'm pretty happy. But you're on antidepressants, or you were depressed last year, or you're talking about, like most of these people giving advice out, you wouldn't even want to be them. So why would you listen to them? I'm not going to listen to anybody unless they're happier than me. Otherwise, I'm never going to listen, So yeah, it's being rooted out by the mainstream because they want all of us as slaves. They want us as slaves. The people who are in charge of the world need people to clean their cars and build their boats. Slaves. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you say things like that, for a lot of people, they're going to hear that and they're going to think like that's a pretty aggressive way of thinking. Like, I don't really believe that people are out there with that mindset, but it really comes down to it's like conquer or be conquered sort of thing. If you're not out there actively trying to define your own patch of land, you're going to get caught up in somebody else's. And that sort of comes back to what we've been talking about all along. Without having that focus, without having that anchor point, is you're going to get caught up in somebody else's idea.
Completely. That's how the world works. That's how it's always worked. And I'm not saying absolutely everybody can be a business owner, or not absolutely everybody can do all that, X, Y, Z. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, look, if you're the right-hand man, or even the fourth or fifth in line to a very important conglomerate, then fantastic. If you're the fifth most important person at fucking Coca-Cola, I'm sure your life's great. It's not all about that. It's about the fact that, like you said, if you're not trying to do anything to define yourself as an individual, and you're not trying to build any kind of empire for yourself, your last name, that's your empire. That's who you are. And that's going to be for your family and your children. They're going to learn from you. If you're not trying to do that at all, well, then someone else is just going to snap you up. Like you said, your land's going to be snatched out from underneath you. And that's the reality of the world. And if you're going to sit to me and say, oh, Andrew, I agree with you, but when I try to do these things, I get distracted because I don't have motivation. Well, then guess what? You deserve the life that's coming to you. If you don't have the motivation to work hard in the gym, or the motivation to try new ideas, or the motivation to stick at a good idea that you have, or the motivation to do your work properly, and then you want to come to me and complain about your life, you have built your own life and you deserve the misery you carry. You designed a life which was going to make anybody miserable, and now you're miserable. Congratulations. If you don't have motivation to try and be something more than Joe Schmo, well, then you deserve the misery. That's my mindset.
I agree. And oftentimes like I see it beyond motivation also, like it's having a role model or having someone to help you on the way. As you mentioned how you were sort of introduced to this idea of location independence and, sort of getting above the system by being around other people who are able to do that. So it's a similar thing. Like if you're not surrounded by people who have things that you want or have a level of happiness that you're striving for, then you have no example to follow.
Completely. And everybody knows something you don't. Everybody. So like I'm a multimillionaire. I'm a rich guy, right? I'm supposed to be a money guy. I'm in the war room. They're talking about things I've never even heard of. They're talking about decentralized finance with cryptocurrencies, and you can stake USD stable coins at 25% a year. This was only yesterday. I was like, what? You can get 25% APR a year? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, but doesn't the currency fluctuate? Bitcoin goes up and down. He goes, no, you put it in stable coins. You can put it in a coin that's linked to the US dollar, so it doesn't go up and down. So I'm saying, you're telling me I put $1 million in this, I get 200 grand a year residual for free, guaranteed, and I can't lose my money? They're like, yeah. So like, I'm learning shit. Like if you're around people who know things, you're going to learn things. You're completely right. You never know it all. And that's all the world is. It's people walking into rooms and talking to each other. You need to be talking to the right people all the time. And you're going to learn new things. But if you're talking to people who only want to talk about sports and other junk, well, you're only going to learn about junk. That's all it is. It really is the truth. I can't remember the last conversation I had with somebody that wasn't about my money or his money or some money. That's what we talked about, because that's all I was interested in, and that's the truth. You're completely right. It's not, mentorship is great, but you don't even need a mentor. You just need people around you who are about it, and if you do that, like we said earlier with the ice cream experts, if you sit and talk about ice cream every day to ice cream experts, you'll learn about ice cream. If you do the same thing with money, you're going to learn about money. It's exactly the same.
So, I mean, all going back towards, what you've cultivated with the war room, where do you see that going? What would you like to see as it's harnessing a lot of power from the network, from the people contributing to it, the people proving themselves along the way. What next?
Yeah. So the war room actually has a quite unique goal, and my goal is to make it smaller. So most groups are trying to get bigger and bigger. Most groups are trying to get bigger and bigger, right? But I don't want that. I want to get smaller and smaller. And I'll tell you two quick stories as to why.
Sure.
When I had my webcam studio, at the height of my webcam studio, I had 75 girls working for me in 5 different locations. I'd rented 5 houses. I had 75 girls working for me. And it was a nightmare, logistical nightmare. I had all these girls working for me, and they weren't motivated by liking me or knowing me or their love for me. They were motivated by money. So I was paying really high percentages to keep them coming in. So I was getting very tiny margins off each girl, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I ended up firing one girl, and she was really popular, and it was a mass exodus, and she took a bunch of girls with her, And I ended up cutting down from 75 girls to 5 girls. And what I did is I went from an army to special forces. I went from an army of girls to 5 of my best girls. And because I had less overheads, because I had less headache, okay, I made less money, but I didn't make so much less money that I missed my army of girls. I was like, I'm only making 50% of the money, but I have 1% of the headache, 1% of the risk, 1%. So it was about having special forces as opposed to an army. Same thing happened in my fight gym. In my fight gym, all of us would start in one room, and we'd be training. And as you got exhausted and couldn't continue, you were kicked out and had to go to another room. And only 2 people would be left at the end of each training session in the fighter's room. If you weren't good enough to make it to the end, you went somewhere else. And this mindset I've applied to the war room. So right now, at our peak, we had 1,000 people. Only about 3 weeks ago, I kicked out 50% of the members. Half of them kicked out. Every single person filled in their reports. Every single person did their appraisals. If you didn't perform as well as the others, you're out. Because I believe a group only moves as fast as the slowest member. And I don't want slow members in my group. And I don't need 500 people in the war room. I can't wait till it's 100 people, all with over 10 or $15 million liquid cash. That's what it has to be. It can't be assets. We're not going to play games with I own this house, that house, stocks. No. Either crypto or liquid cash, 10M plus, 100 individuals around the world. That's what the war room is going to become. And it's getting there quick. You'd be amazed. It's been around about 2 years now. And we've made, I think we've made 17 millionaires, a lot of it from crypto. Amazing things are happening in there. So my goal of the war room is to get smaller and smaller with higher and higher value individuals till it gets to the point where memberships are closed. You're not allowed in anymore. You missed your chance. And it's just me and 99 other high level cats living the best life that can be lived. That's what we're aiming to do with the war room. That's the end goal of it, because that's how life works, my friend. I've said this a million times. You either perform or you don't. You show up or you don't. You know, and you can make all the excuses under the sun, but it doesn't make a difference. If I go to a fight and I lose and I go, oh yeah, but I didn't train properly, blah, blah. Nobody cares. You got knocked out. That's how life works. Absolute full accountability. And the war room is testament to that. Every single member has to stay accountable. So for you saying what my next step with my next goal of the war room is to kick out more people. That's my next goal.
I love it. It's counterintuitive, but it's high leverage. Another common theme throughout this conversation is looking for those leverage points to maximize your gains. And I think you've definitely become a master of that from what I can tell. So thank you for this time today, Tate. It's been a real honor to talk to you and to pick your brain on some of these topics. And for the audience out there, where can they find you? Where should they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Twitter at the moment at @ofwudan, OFWUDAN. Try and follow me on Twitter if you can, because it's where I'm most active, but my Twitter accounts don't last that long, so who knows how long I'll be there for. I'm on my 9th now. I'm on Instagram at Cobra Tate and also cobratate.com. You can read all about the War Room. You can see some videos and pictures of War Room summits and understand more about what we're doing in real life and in our online network. So it's all there. Awesome, man. Do you have any final words of advice or just words for the audience to leave them with? Absolutely. Every single man out there listening to this, I want you to do one thing today, and I want you to do the same thing for the rest of your adult life. I want you to work very hard, and I want you to be proud of yourself. And if you do those two things, you'll be amazed how close you'll come to your goals. In fact, if you work hard and you're proud of yourself, every single goal you have in mind right now, you're going to surpass. I guarantee it. Love it. Hey, thank you again. And, best of luck to the War Room. I'm excited to see what happens. Thanks, brother.